Everything gets better when you ask for permission. Welcome to Sales for Nice People, the daily podcast for ethical entrepreneurs who want to learn how to sell more without having to go against your values. I am Martin Steller. I help nice people sell more. And it is very easy to lose a sale at the last moment, right when it looks like things are going to happen. And very often it's because you didn't ask permission. When you do things to people and you don't have their permission, you can only expect one outcome, and that is for them to object, to protest, to lean back, to come up with excuses, objections. And that is why the whole Sales for Nice People system is built on the concept of gaining permission. Because you first need to have permission to have a sales conversation. You cannot just call somebody up and expect them to want to have a sales conversation because you think so, because you think it's going to be useful for them. No, you need them to agree, right? Then, when you have a sales conversation, obviously, maybe you just want to go in and go, I'll send you a proposal and then you can review it. But if they didn't ask for it, you didn't have permission for that, or it's very likely that they're going to go, yeah, well, sounds good. And then your proposal gets ignored. Whereas if you ask permission first, you now have a way in. Would it be helpful if I send you a proposal? Okay, your buyer says yes. Now you've asked permission. Now they buy into the idea of getting a proposal. Now it's something that might be useful for them. You can ask permission on all kinds of things at all stages in the sales conversation. And in fact, it is an extremely, extremely powerful thing to deploy. So for instance, when you are in a conversation and your buyer is pointing at a problem that you might be able to solve, but they don't consider it as necessary yet, but you know from your personal experience that actually this problem should be solved along with the other problems they want solved. So if you then go and say, well, problem XYZ that you mentioned should also be solved. Well, you didn't ask for permission to talk about that. They are not necessarily open to talk about it. They don't even consider it as something that needs to be solved right now. And your line of questioning goes nowhere. Whereas if you first ask, hey, you mentioned problem XYZ a moment ago. Is it okay if I ask a couple of questions about that? Now they say yes. Now you have a conversation about that problem, and now you might transition the conversation into including that solution as well. This asking for permission is very powerful. You should use it at all times, and any time that your sale isn't advancing, or your buyer isn't leaning in but they are leaning back, or you're not able to close the sale, or there is something just not working, stop and ask for permission. Hey, is it okay if we have a conversation about this? Would you mind if we talk about a proposal? Is it a good idea to discuss what a working together would look like? Now, in each of these cases, you're asking for your buyer to give you permission to have that conversation. And based on that permission, your whole conversation is going to be so much better. So careful that you don't do things to people. Sales is not something that you do to people. It's something that you do with people if you're an ethical seller, which I suppose you are. So then ask people for permission and your sales process will be a lot smoother. This is Sales for Nice People. Go to salesfornicepeople.com/sign up to get a short daily email, and I will see you again tomorrow.